All right, so for today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the NWS 8-inch heavy-duty lever side cutters. Now, these are a little bit different than a standard pair of side cutters, as they have this pivot joint here, which allows you to cut up to 50% easier through material versus a standard pair of diagonal cutters. So to start off with, these are the insulated version of this tool. Now, if you aren't looking for the insulated pair of these, NWS does also sell a pair that is comfort grip. Now, the one thing that the comfort grip and the insulated pliers do share in common is they have these little locking nubs here on the bottom, and what those are used for is a tether and a non-contact voltage tester, which you can purchase separately. And they decided to go with the yellow and red, the more traditional style coloring for the VDE handles. But they also did throw in a little bit of gray on there to kind of break it up. And if you are unfamiliar with the NWS brand, they are a German hand tool brand or hand tool company. So I believe pretty much all of their stuff that they make is from Germany. So you're going to have that pretty much everywhere on the tool. So you're going to have it on the handles. Now the handles are a combination of like a harder plastic and a soft rubber. The red is more of a harder, a little bit harder of a plastic, along with the gray kind of feels like a little bit softer of a plastic, but it does kind of feel like it is a little bit, it's not as soft as the yellow, but it's not as, I wouldn't say, I don't know, it's kind of hard to say if it's a little bit softer than the red, but there is, you know, a little bit difference in the handles. Now you do have the, I believe that is a batch number and the year that the tool was produced. It's kind of common on insulated tools, so you know how old the tool is. And then you also have the 1000 volt, and then you get your NWS logo. And then you also have some safety information and some of the certifications that this tool went through to become 1000 volt rated. Like I've said before, I believe they test these up to 10,000 volts, but rate them for 1,000 volts. And like most of the German tool pliers that are out there, and some of the screwdrivers actually, you have the barcode there on the back. Not 100% sure what that is used for. So if somebody does know, please feel leave it down in the comment section below. And you can see 50%, you're supposed to be 50% easier cutting through material. And you also have the made in Germany that is a part of the casting or part of the forging on this guy. And this one does have another one of those little torque settings. So I'm not sure if that's how they just press in the rivets, or if that's how they stamp the rivet to lock it into place. But you could put, I think I tried it out, it's like a T15 Torx. You could put it in there, but you're not going to be spinning anything since there's, you know, nothing on the backside of the plier to spin. Now you have your pivot joint here. Now these guys are advertised to be able to cut through 3 millimeter piano wire. That's not something I have ever had to really run into, but it's nice to know I have a pair of pliers that can cut through that. And then you have some more NWS branding and some more things on there. Now they are a chrome, that chrome matte finish to them. It's not a shiny chrome finish, it's just a matte, kind of a dull finish, which looks good with the colors that they went with on the handles. But that's pretty much it for the detail on the tool. Now we'll get some of the functionality. So like I said, these do open a little bit different than a standard pair of diagonal cutters. You can see there on the handle, they open quite a bit different. I'll bring in a normal pair of diagonal cutters. You can see that's how just a normal pair of diagonal cutters would open, versus these is they open up to the side, giving you a little bit more leverage to cut through some harder material. Now, one thing to note about these is since they open and they give you that leverage, it is kind of awkward to kind of hold in your hand. And you also don't have the greatest amount of the great opening in the cutting knives, so you are kind of limited onto some of the material you can cut with these, compared to just, you know, a standard pair of diagonal cutters where you got quite a bit of different quite a bit bigger opening on them to cut through material. But these, like I said, are advertised to cut through more of harder material, so I don't think you're going to have some super hard material that is that big that you're going to be wanting to cut with these. So enough blabbering, let's get into some cutting here. So I'll bring in some sealing grid wire. This is probably the hardest material that I have to cut through, or have to cut through. And these just cut through it without an issue. We'll go ahead and bring in just a normal pair of diagonal cutters and see if these can cut it. You definitely have to put a lot more strength when cutting through with the normal pair versus these. You don't have to use as much force with them. They are able to cut through that sealing grid wire and shoot it all over the place. So we'll get that stuff out of the way. Now we'll bring in some MC, and this is kind of where this diagonal cutter or heavy duty cutter is going to struggle a little bit compared to just, a standard pair of diagonal cutters, but you can get these to cut through it. So what I found is you kind of have to make a starter cut, and then you have to move it in, and you should be able to chop that stuff off. So we'll go ahead and do that one more time. Just kind of line it up, chop it a little bit, and then you just finish it off, versus just a standard pair of diagonal cutters where you can open it up and you just get one cut. You don't have to, or you don't have to cut it, push it in, cut it again, versus a standard pair. So that is one thing to note about these. Now these, you can also cut some screws with them. So I have a 632 screw here and an 832 screw. So we'll go ahead and cut through those guys and see how they do. When you're cutting through that 632, pretty much cuts through like butter. You don't really have to put any force to it. It's super easy to do. So that is nice. So now we'll go ahead and try out this 832 machine screw. And you definitely are going to have to use a little bit more pressure to get through it. But again, they cut through this stuff fairly easily. So we'll go ahead and make that one more cut on the side. So if you're needing to cut screws with these, they are able to do that. You don't have to, I would say you definitely don't have to use as much force when just using a standard pair of diagonal cutters. So that is a nice, that nice little pivot feature on them. Gives you, like I said, about 50% more cutting power when you're cutting through those thicker materials. And then if you wanted to, you could use these to cut some wire. They'll just easily cut through that wire without an issue. But I don't think you're buying these to cut through some copper wire. With these, I think you're buying them to cut through some harder material. So overall, these are definitely a nice, another nice pair of pliers from NWS. Like I said before in the video, if you don't want the VDE or the insulated version of them, you can get the standard comfort grip version handle. It's just a little bit different in color. And I don't think they are chrome plated. I think they are just that black oxide matte finish that NWS does with their non-insulated tools. So with that being said, that's all I have for this video. So if you want to find out some more information about these pliers, there will be a link in the description below. It'll take you right on over to the webpage for NWS, and you can learn some more about these pliers from them. And there will also be a link in the description below if you would like to purchase these for yourself and add them to your tool lineup. So there'll be a couple different places down there where you can buy these. But with that being said, that's all I have for this video. Thanks for watching.